that's very interesting based on the message of the service. So today's lesson is on self-love and the line between self-love and selfishness. So in the metaphysical community, we talk an awful lot about self-love and how important it is that we love ourselves. And certainly this message comes from the Buddha. And that is a matter of compassion, being compassionate with others, and then also being compassionate with yourself. Understanding that the internal dialogue that we have with ourselves is sometimes not always nice. In fact, someone just wrote a song about it not too long ago. I think it was Pink that said something about, you know, how, especially women, based on cultural messages and media and things like that, we have a very harsh way of having an internal dialogue and motivating ourselves. So instead of saying I need to go to the gym because I need to be balanced, mind, body, and spirit, we say I need to go to the gym because I'm a big fat cow. This is not being kind to yourself. This is the internal dialogue that is not showing that you understand what self-love is, accepting that you are a spiritual being inhabiting a physical body, and this is a temporary condition. And the larger part of you is that spiritual being. That's what self-love is about. For some reason, self-love has become the mantra of selfishness in the metaphysical community. It's really an excuse sometimes to do things that are not loving. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about love and what that is, whether it's love that you're sharing with others or love that you're sharing and exposing yourself to in a personal way. Love is a verb, love is an action, and love is a behavior. So what does love do and what does love not do? Love is kind. Love doesn't judge. Love is self-sacrificing. It is a behavior that demonstrates that you have compassion and feeling for others, that you understand. It doesn't put upon others the restraints of your opinion, your journey, your ideas, or anything like that. It doesn't judge people based on their behaviors, their thoughts. It doesn't judge at all. It doesn't put expectations on people. In fact, it expects nothing. It gains everything. And so when we're talking about self-love and we apply those principles of love to ourselves, it frees us from failure, from guilt, from fear, from the things that disconnect us from spirit. When we behave in a selfish way, what we're doing is we're saying, well, we as metaphysical people understand things this way, and we're so much more enlightened than the rest of you are. That is not being loving. Not even remotely. Not even remotely. Or my ideas and my rituals and my behaviors are ones that you should adopt in your life because they are more profound and more meaningful than the ones that you currently engage in. That's not loving. It's not loving. Or your behavior is something that I find to be questionable, and so I will now remove my love from you. I don't like what you said. I don't love you anymore. That's not unconditional. That's very conditional. It's like, I will love you as long as you do what I say, the way that I like you to do it, when I want you to do it. That's not love. That's control. That is controlling somebody. And that's not loving. And so, my suggestion is that we understand that when we're applying those principles of love to ourselves, that we're freeing ourselves from those kinds of things. When we do something wrong, we don't feel horrible and guilty and bad and beat ourselves up over and over and over again. We free ourselves from that by doing what? Accepting, I did something wrong. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. Right? continue to visit that. And I know many of us do. We have incredible amounts of guilt from past behaviors that we carry forward with us. That is that self-love that the Buddha was talking about. Freeing ourselves in our travel, in our journey towards enlightenment, understanding that these are the stones and the steps that we take, that we must travel in order to get to this greater place. Self-love isn't about isolating yourself because you feel that you need to nurture some selfish desire. That's a completely different thing. You know, I need to learn to love myself all over again. And so I'm going to isolate myself from those that love me and care about me, and just bathe myself in my own love. That's not what the Buddha was talking about. Because love in and of itself is what? Selfless. So that's not what self-love is. Self-love is about understanding that you renew every day. You are reborn every day. You're connected to spirit continually. You have an abundant supply of energy and love and kindness and wisdom that runs through you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you share it with others. You share it with others. Doesn't mean that you use it as a stick to beat others with. There's a difference. Notice when I give lessons, what do? I say, this is what I suggest you consider. I don't say this is what you should do. You should do whatever you do. You do you. I'm going to do me. And I'm never going to force somebody to do something that doesn't feel right for them. I'm never going to hold somebody to a mold or a box, because that's not loving. It's not kind. And so when we're expressing love and we're setting parameters upon those behaviors that we deem acceptable and we deem unacceptable, we're not really showing love. We're really showing that we have a long way to go before we understand the fullness of what love is. And so how do we get to that place where we can say, I'm really starting to get what love is. I'm really starting to understand it. I will share a story with you that helped me to understand it. So years and years ago, I had my daughter. She's now 23 years old. So this was right after I had my daughter. So say about 22 years ago. I was very thin. I was probably about 120 pounds. And I wanted to go on a ski trip. And my ex-husband said, hey, you know, that's all fine and good, but we're going to ski. And you can barely pick up a box. So I don't know how you're going to go to the top of the mountain and ski, because you're not strong enough to ski. And he was right. I wasn't. I probably would have broke a leg the first time down the mountain. And so I joined a gym, and I worked out with a personal trainer. I worked out with the personal trainer for a whole year. I loved it so much that I became a personal trainer. That's how much I loved it. But what happened was I was doing this with a goal in mind. I wanted to be able to ski with my family. And they're aggressive skiers. I mean, we'd ski from the minute we got up in the morning until there was no light on the mountain at night. So we took advantage of every second. And so the first time that I got on the mountain and wanted to ski, I went to the top of the mountain. I was by myself. I really wanted to do it by myself. So I went to the very top, and I stood there, and I looked down the mountain. And it was an amazing experience for me. It was a profoundly spiritual experience for me. I saw the lake at the bottom of the mountain. The snow was so white, and the way the sun hit it, it actually glistened like glitter. It was just beautiful. And the sun came down through the clouds onto the mountain. And it was so idyllic and so amazing, so surreally beautiful, that I felt incredibly connected. Of course, the creation is amazing, and we see pictures on the internet constantly of the creation, how beautiful it is, and how it emotionally causes us to respond to it. But this is what struck me, as I stood there and I thought to myself, this was made for my delight. It could not have been any better crafted. There was nothing missing. It was like a box with a bow, and you opened it, and the best gift that you could ever want in your whole entire life was inside. And so I felt loved beyond what I had ever felt loved before. That somebody, for the lack of a better definition, cared enough about me to share that moment with me. I was completely awed. And it changed the way that I viewed love from that point on. It changed the way that I viewed the relationships that I had with other people. It changed the way that I viewed things that they did not have an ability to do or had an ability to do. And it changed my expectations of others. And so I grew up because someone loved me, I was then more capable of loving someone else. And so I would ask you and suggest to you that you find that place in yourself, that awe, that awareness, that connectedness, that specialness, that allows you to see that awe, that specialness, that connectedness in each other. Because that's what it means to put up with each other. We are imperfect. We do things that are difficult. We say things that we shouldn't say. This is part of being a human being. It's part of the human experience. And so how do I love you? I remember all of those beautiful things, and they erase all of the imperfect things. The same as I would do for myself when I look in the mirror and I am critical of myself. I'm one of those really critical people. So I look at myself and I say, I have so far to go. I can't believe it. This is unreal. But you know what? But I'm moving forward. I'm moving in that direction. That's my self-love. Okay, I get it. I have a lot more to learn, but I'm learning. And I love the learning. And I love the lesson. That's self-love. Self-love is not self-indulgence. There's a difference between the two. And so when you're considering those two ideas and you're listening to others, share that thought. That's very interesting. I love myself too. I love myself. But I would not put myself before my brother or my sister. That's not self-love. That's self-indulgence. So know the difference between the two. And be aware. And I leave that with you with its blessing. Thank you very, very much for the meditation. I thought that was perfect.